Hello, 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 everyone. This is Anthony from the PSBlue Podcast. Just wanted to come in and say very quickly that the episode you're about to listen to is a bit dated. We've taken a little bit of a hiatus, but we are back now. I got a couple episodes that we recorded a couple weeks ago. A lot of very relevant topics to hone in on, but for now, these topics are a little bit past due, let's say. Not too bad. We're talking about Dragon's Dogma 2. We're talking about Tekken 8. We're talking about Yakuza Like a Dragon. So games like that. Still relevant, but not as relevant as they could be. Just a quick note. Enjoy the podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the PSBlue Podcast, available everywhere. This is episode 26. I'm joined again by my wonderful co-host, Adonis. How you doing today?
Great. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to have another episode of the podcast and talk about video games with you, my friend.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to it every week. So I'm happy we're back in the swing of things. You know, it's a nice time, I think, for the both of us. Are you playing anything new or anything, or are you just playing the same things? I know you're playing Tekken 8. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit. Anything else that we need to know about?
No, since Mortal Kombat's a shit game in regards to its community and the fluidity between the community and its players, I decided to hop on Tekken 8 for a little bit.
Okay.
I've been playing that.
Nice.
Not bad.
We'll get into that later, so I'm not going to press
There's
quite
a lot
yet.
to unpack, buddy. A lot to unpack.
I was playing all these different games, and then I do this, I feel like I do this every single month. Nearly. I was playing all these different games, and then some stuff came out, and I just completely stopped. Everything I was playing, I just stopped, and I focused on all these new games. I'm playing the new Yakuza game that just came out. It's fantastic already.
So I've heard. I heard it's pretty good.
It's very good. I'm playing Prince of Persia, which I'm going to review it later.
Trash.
And
Go ahead. No, I'm listening to you, baby. I'm listening.
and I dabbled in Palworld a little bit in preparation for this podcast. Do you know anything about Palworld?
I have watched plenty. The memes, the gameplay.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
And it's taken over the world for the last few days. I haven't got
talk.
a chance to play it. Is it available on PS5?
No, we'll talk. We'll talk very shortly about it. But it's not available on PlayStation at all. It's in early access. But it's on Game Pass, and I have Game Pass, and I wanted to do some research for this actually. So I grabbed it and I played it a little, and we'll get into that. I think that's the first topic actually on the slate. But anyway, yeah, that's basically all I've been playing. Today's topics include, as mentioned, a Tekken 8 review, Dragon's Dogma 2, Yakuza Like a Dragon, and more. But first, the quote of the week. I actually have a clip today for the quote of the week, and Adonis does not know this, but we're gonna go ahead and run this right now. This is Adonis's impression of Donnie from the Wild Thornberries, which is one of my most anticipated characters from Nickelodeon Christ. All-Star Brawl. I still don't know what that game's called, but this is just listen. Go ahead, we'll play it twice.
Also, Donnie Thornberry.
I'm like really gonna have to get this. You say Donnie? That's literally what it.
One more time, because it was so good. It was so good.
You say Donnie?
Also, Donnie.
It's literally him. That's him, man. It's just gibberish. It's not hard to hit, but man, I gotta get that.
No, it was good. Pick it up. I was listening back to our last episode, and I just had to throw that out there.
That's pretty fun. You say Donnie? That's pretty spot on. I gotta give myself a little pat on the back on that one.
What we were talking about is which characters we wanted to see, and I mentioned Face from Nick Jr. and Donnie Thornberry were the two that I brought up. What do you have to say about that impression? You want to respond? You want to defend yourself? You want to anything?
I mean, Nickelodeon, if you ever decide to do a reboot.
Yeah, there you go.
It ain't hard.
You nailed it. You nailed it. You're
I
in
can
there.
pre-record it and just use it as much as you want. Just cut me a check, baby.
just tweet us at PSBlue. No, I'm just kidding. I'm terrible with social media. I don't have a Twitter. We don't have a Twitter yet. We will. We probably will. We're looking for a social media manager that will work free of charge, of course.
I can pay.
I don't know how you're going to contact us because we don't have social media yet. So, but let's dive right in. So, Palworld impressions. Will it come to PlayStation? So this is the first topic of the day. I couldn't not talk about Palworld. Basically, if you don't know, if you're living under a rock, Palworld is a elevator pitch Pokemon with guns. That's literally what it is. It is almost a blatant ripoff in certain elements of the Pokemon franchise. You know, you have Pokeballs, but they're called something else, and you have Pokemon running around. But it's a multiplayer survival type game. And it's PvE. I only played it a little bit, so I don't know a ton about it, but I do know that it has taken the internet by storm over the last week plus, and we're recording on January the 28th, so just take that as it is. It might be old news by the time you hear it, but anyway, I played it. It's good. It's fine. I don't know why it's such a... I mean, I do get why it's a big deal, because it sort of tugs at the nostalgia heartstrings of us millennials and people, you know, a little bit younger than us that grew up with Pokemon. Nintendo not going to make a game like this. Nintendo's not going to make Pokemon with guns. So leave it to somebody else. Yeah, leave it to somebody else to do it. So Adonis, have you played any of this? Is this something... I know this is a PlayStation podcast. This isn't on PlayStation quite yet, but...
You better believe it's coming.
It is definitely coming. As long as there's not some exclusivity deal with Xbox, which I don't... My initial research, you know, doesn't point toward anything like that, but I would imagine they're going to capitalize on this because it sold millions of copies already. It's an early access, so it's not a full game yet, per se. Baldur's Gate 3 is probably the most successful game that came out in early access on Steam first, and we know where that game ended up. It just exploded, so this could be, you know, next in line for Game of the Year down the line, but, you know, what do you have to say about this? Anything? Where do we stand as PlayStation fans? It sounds like you're pretty confident it's going to come to Sony consoles. So talk to me.
Yes, I do think it's coming to PlayStation because it is the perfect mixture that hooks gamers. Like, we all, I mean, for the most part, loved Pokemon. From the games to the show to the trading cards, whatever it is, apparel, if you got your hands on it, it was more than likely because you loved it. And so now you take this nostalgia-filled game and then you move it directly into this beautiful game that has violence. Like, Pokemon and violence is perfect. That's exactly what you want. And with something like that, man, I'm telling you, I think it's going to be truly, truly amazing.
That's pretty high praise. So you're pretty high on Palworld. It sounds like. Yeah. See, I'm not big into the survival horror genre. I've dabbled here and there. You know, I played what was that one called? Like The Island or something like that. Anyway, I played that one. It was good. I played obviously Minecraft when that was hot. But I'm not really a big survival horror guy. I am a Pokemon guy though. You know,
and that's where they get you. You see what I'm saying? It's like it's a too schemed kind of tactic where, like you said, you're not a fan of the survival horror game, but you like Pokemon. So guess what? You're gonna try it just off the principle of that, right?
Exactly.
That's how they get you, man.
Yeah, I already tried it. I mean, it's glitchy. It's early access, clearly, but the elevator pitch is so strong, the concept is so strong that I think it pushes people past that glitchiness, past that early access sort of label that the game has gotten. And you know, it would be a shame if this didn't come to PlayStation, because I think that, you know, all parties would miss out. I think that PlayStation gamers really want this game, and I think that the developers, Pocket Pair, I think that they would very much benefit from porting this. I bet you they would probably wait till early access is over. So this is probably looking like more 2025, 2026 territory. Because if you look at sort of the Baldur's Gate timeline, not to bring up the same example, but it was in early access for years. So there was a quote about Palworld and Sony that Shuhei Yoshida had said something. Trying to pull it up now, but
pull that up so I can see.
Yeah, anything else you want to say while I kind of do my due diligence here?
No, it's I think it's a game people will look forward to and will love, and I think it will captivate the world for however long it needs to, right? Like, I don't know if it'll be here for like the longevity, but for right now, you said it sold like 6 million copies in a few days,
something like that. Yeah, it's definitely in the millions. I know that from somebody told me that. It's hearsay, but I'm pretty sure that's right. I remember looking it up. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, well, I definitely I'm gonna be looking forward to it. Have you played it? Like, what would you, if you had to review it? Like, what would you give it?
I can't review it. I only played it for maybe an hour. Honestly, right before we started recording, I was playing it just in preparation for the podcast. Like I said, it was glitchy. It had certain issues, but it was charming, and like the other thing I mentioned was there are just blatant ripoffs of Pokemon, like all over this game. Like, there's literal Pokeballs. They're just called something else. Yeah,
side by side Pokemon, and it's like, this design is only off by like the ears are moved an inch up, or the color scheme is a little bit lighter or darker.
Right.
What's that about? Do you think they could potentially get into some legal trouble with that?
I think that they could. They probably could, but obviously when you do something at this level, like, this is not a small, it's an indie studio, sure, but this is not a small game in scale or in scope or in ambition level of what they envision for this franchise. Obviously, they want big things to happen for this game. So that they did their due diligence and their research. Can we get sued by Nintendo? Can we get sued by Game Freak or the Pokemon community?
It's possible.
Is this going to look bad in the eyes of the Pokemon community? Who knows? But as far, and it is possible. You're right. I don't want to underplay that. It definitely is possible. But the thing that I keep going back to, Nintendo is never going to make this game. They're never going to make a Pokemon game with guns. They're never going to do that.
Their target audience is juvenile, so they can't.
Right. Right. But even if their target audience was people our age, people in their late 20s to early 30s, it's not on brand for them to add an assault rifle to a Pokemon game. They're not going to do it. They're just not going to do it. So I think it's a really cool idea. It's a really cool concept. They're obviously past that proof of concept stage where they do have a legit game in place. They're charging $30 for early access on Steam. Yeah, it's not bad, but it's not like a small amount of money either. So they know that there's something already there. Which is why I bring that up. So far,
everybody feels like they're getting their money's worth. So
right. And it's on Game Pass too. I'm not trying to advertise for Microsoft here because this is a PlayStation podcast, but I felt like we could not talk about this game because it is just the last, I would say, week and a half to 2 weeks. It is the only thing I've seen in my echo chamber or whatever you want to call it of video game news and media and YouTube, all the different websites. It's all I've seen. It's the only thing that's been recommended to me is Palworld. So we could not talk about it. I did find off Eurogamer.net a tweet from Shuhei Yoshida, who is the head of indies at PlayStation. He said he suggested that Palworld could be on its way to PlayStation. Yoshida responded, again, this is from Eurogamer.net. Yoshida responded to the official Palworld account on Twitter to congratulate the team on its huge success. When a fan requested a PS5 version be released as soon as possible, Yoshida replied with a simple yes. One word answer, yes.
That's good. That's the go ahead. That's what you want to hear.
Right. And then he tagged a PlayStation partner development executive from China and Japan in the post. So it's speculated that it will come to PlayStation. I don't see why it wouldn't, again, unless there was some sort of exclusivity deal worked out between Microsoft and Pocket Pair, the developer of this game. Anything else on Palworld, or are we ready to move on?
I'm waiting for the PS5 version, but I believe we are ready to move on.
Okay, great. The next topic, Tekken 8. I asked you, Adonis. I know you played it. I know you bought it. I asked you if you were ready to do a review. You replied to me, you haven't played it enough yet, but you played it enough to give us some initial impressions and just give the listeners the lowdown on this game. What do we need to know about Tekken 8? We will do a review potentially in the future when you get to play it more, in depth, when we can go more granular into the game, but just first initial thoughts. You said you played it for maybe a few hours. What do you think of the game? Is it as good as it looks like it is?
First and foremost, to the studio that has developed the Tekken games over the years, I would get out of my chair and start a slow clap, because in fighting games this day and age, it's very important to be innovative and it's very important to be relevant. And when you're trying to deliver a product to the gaming community, instant gratification has become the norm. Like, if it's not amazing, if it's not breathtaking, if it's not groundbreaking, throw it away and we'll go somewhere else and we'll play a great fighting game. So to have the pressure of trying to stay relevant, innovate a game that's been around a long time, they did a great job. Slow clap all the way. Getting my hands on it, first impressions. Launch day, the online multiplayer aspect of the game was a little wonky, only because I don't think they anticipated the level of traffic on the game, which is why in some cases gaming studios will do betas to test the traffic and get themselves ready for that initial launch. I haven't dug deep into the story mode. I've heard great things about it. I've watched some clips, but for the multiplayer aspect of it, I have been playing a little Yoshimitsu for all the lovers of Tekken and a little Dragunov. And the game is beautiful. It's run on Unreal Engine 5, man. Like, that's enough. That's all you need to hear. And the biggest takeaway from me, especially coming from a game like Mortal Kombat and NetherRealm Studios, I love the level of discourse that developers and the design team can have with the consumers of your product. Like, hey, if 90%, I'm raising my voice because I got a point to prove. Like, hey, if we feel like a certain feature in your game isn't up to standard with what we thought we were going to get, fix it. And to have that level of discourse and for it to be there and apparent is so important. Because as gaming studios, they understand, like, hey, we can't get everything right, but with your help, because you're the consumer, we damn sure can try. So hats off to all the developers. Great game thus far. Congratulations on a great launch. And hopefully the longevity of Tekken 8 can be twice as long as Tekken 7, even from a competitive aspect, even from putting money into the game and grassroots competitions. I am ready to see where Tekken will take us, and I'm ready to dip my big toe into the pool of Tekken and the competitive side of things so that I can get smoked. That's what I want. Smoke me. Take me out. Kill me. Okay? And then I can learn from it.
So you mentioned that they are being very perceptive to the people that are actually playing the game, right? And that they're listening to the consumer feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me in what way they're doing that? Like, can you give me an example, or just like how is it that they're doing that, and what are they doing differently from NetherRealm as far as Mortal Kombat is concerned? And because you've conveyed to me some of your frustrations there, so just talk to me a little bit more about that, so I know like specifically what did Tekken do right and where did they go wrong with the new Mortal Kombat.
Well, I think the first thing to understand is when you develop a game, you want to keep the discourse open, and I feel like the best way to do that in this day and age is Twitter. It's quick. People can actively chat with you in an open setting. You don't need people to like email you and like different types of correspondence. You can, as a like the Tekken 8 official page, you know, for example, like they put out, I believe, this tweet about the launch, and people were subtweeting it saying like, hey, like we really looking forward to this, or hey, when is this character coming out, or hey, like how is this character going to look? And they responded. Whereas me, coming from the Mortal Kombat community, coming from NetherRealm Studios, Warner Brothers, you don't get that. There were certain problems with the game, which I love Mortal Kombat 1. I think it's great, and I think it'll still be one of the better Mortal Kombats ever made, but there is a severe problem with if there's such a disconnect between the players and the community managers. And then you find out that the community managers address the community saying, hey, there's certain things that we want to talk about, but we have to wait to get the go-ahead from Warner Brothers. Like, what do you mean? We're the consumers of your game. We bought the game. We're entitled, I would like to think, we're entitled to updates and information regarding a game that we bought to play. And when you think about Street Fighter, when you think about games like Tekken that has just released, there isn't that disconnect. So what's to stop? And me personally, that's kind of where I said, listen here, it was like a real bad relationship. I had to sit Mortal Kombat down. I grabbed her hand and I told her, baby, things aren't working out. She said, is it me? And I said, no, it's not you. And I had to open the door, and Tekken 8 was waiting right there. And I said, this is who I told you not to worry about. This is who I told you not to worry about. Okay. And now I am fully committed, and I'm happy, and I'm in love. And I'm going to stay there for some time. I'm not going back. I'm going to stay there.
But you've only played it for a handful of hours, right? And you already, I feel like you're still in the honeymoon phase with Tekken 8.
Hey, listen, honeymoon phase into a steady relationship.
Okay.
I'm open.
I got a couple other follow-up questions, if I can. Are you cool with that? Do you feel okay? So Tekken has always been a 3D fighting game, right? There's sidestepping, and there's, it's a 3D fighting game, not a 2D fighting game. Is it still like that? Because the impression I get from the gameplay is that they kind of switched it up, and now it's more like a 2D game. Talk to me about that.
What I'll say to the sidestepping aspect, the 3D aspect of the game, whiff if you want to, with a button.
Okay.
You'll get sidestep and put through a wall so quick. The game, and what I'm learning from it, is spacing is so important. Like execution, and like, I'm a NetherRealm guy. I'm a Mortal Kombat guy. So coming from that side of things over to this game, I'm learning different mechanics of the game. I'm learning different nuances of the game. One of those being spacing. One of those being sidestepping. Like you said, the 3D aspect of the game. Playing footsies. And I haven't even begun to like immerse myself in the world that is like competitive Tekken play. But to answer your question, that 3D aspect is still there. It's still apparent. And the mobility in that game is there, and it probably even better, honestly.
It just, like, at first glance, it looked like it might have been, like, they might have transitioned into a more 2D flat fighting game. But then you watch it a little bit more, and you do notice the sidestepping is still there. So just that was just the first thing that kind of stuck out to me. It's definitely got more of that Street Fighter kind of presentation from the get. If you just, at first glance, it looks like that 2D style. But anyway, that was question A. Question B, or 2. if you will.
I'm like, ooh, question B. Okay.
How do you feel about the opening roster? I want to say, I don't want to misquote, but I want to say
35 characters.
Yeah,
I think so.
there's over 30 characters from the get. You don't have to pay for any of these characters. They're just there waiting for you to learn the nuances of. Is that a solid number? I feel like that's a real, and again, I'm not a fighting fan. I mean, I like fighting games, but I'm not an expert by any means. Is that a good number? I feel like my gut is telling me 30, 35 is a very, very generous opening roster.
They checked every box.
Okay.
Every box. Good netcode, good community, like good community outreach, like back and forth. Large roster, which allows, it's so important to have not only a good roster, but a immersive roster, because in fighting games, when that meta is established, people will find like, oh man, like, and it's still early, obviously, but they'll be like, well, these 5 characters are the best in the game. The rest are garbage. There are 35 characters in this game. There won't be a tier list for probably a few months, as it should be. Every character should be explored in different kinds of tech, and you'll have character loyalists. Yes, 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 yes. 35 characters is chef's kiss. Very good. Because I can go through that entire roster and find that one character that fits my play style that I feel could be good. And I could make the character better in a competitive sense. I think they knocked it completely out of the park. Even in terms of DLC that's coming, they did a hell of a job.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like you're pretty happy with it. You know, I'm going to push back a little bit here and say that you are also very, very happy with the new Mortal Kombat game. So
I am. I still am.
Yeah, but then you kind of exercise some demons with me, not on the podcast, but off the air, where you kind of were frustrated with NetherRealm in a number of different ways. So
just the back and forth. Like, I feel like the game is quote unquote getting stale. Not that I don't like it. It's just like, hey man, like it's around that 3-month mark. Like, hey, let's get another patch. Let's mix things up. Let's buff some characters. Let's nerf some things. And just like, let's change the meta, because the meta is becoming a little stale. That's all.
Sure. Okay. Well, we will. You can keep it right here for more Tekken 8 updates, because Adonis is gonna be diving into that game for the next several weeks to months, probably, because he is a fighting game aficionado. So if you're into that type of stuff, don't go anywhere else. We will come back to Tekken 8 and maybe we'll do a proper review. You know, when you've had maybe more time with the roster, more time with the story mode, and what have you. But I think that was very well said, and you certainly got me excited. I know I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but I'm not a huge fighting game fan, as I've said, but Tekken has always had a special place in my heart, because that is the one. I played Street Fighter and I played Tekken. Those were the 2 games that I really, growing up, got into, at least at my level, not at your level, but I was into Tekken and I was into Street Fighter. And wow, this game looks good, and it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. You can't undersell that Unreal Engine 5, and it looks like it performs very well too, which is I don't have to tell you this, but I know it is a very big deal for a fighting game to have a good solid frame rate, and it seems like it has that as well.
It does. Like I said, they check all the boxes for me. Unless there's a monumental implosion, as far as, I don't know, like the community is between the community and the consumer of the game, I don't see why this game couldn't be a front runner for like best fighting game among the 3, being nice. Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, and Mortal Kombat 1. I don't see why it could not take that place.
Nice.
I will say this much, and then we'll go on to the next topic. Capcom Cup guaranteeing $1 million to its winner. Nuts. Kind of hard to beat that. But we're still in the early stages with Tekken. We don't know what they're going to do in terms of prize pools or bonuses they'll add to the prize pot. So it won't like overtake Street Fighter yet, but hey, it's early, and we'll see where it goes.
And again, Capcom Cup is in reference to Street Fighter 6, the new Street Fighter game that just released a few months ago. Is that coming out of Capcom's own marketing fund or some other fund that they have, or is it player contributed? Like, how do they make that prize pool?
I would like to think that a majority of it, in my assumption, the majority of it comes from the consumer buying the game. The game is probably what, $70, $74.19 after tax.
Yeah, but that's still Capcom's money. So you're saying Capcom is putting it back into the game.
Yeah, which is smart. You're only going to get it back.
It's cool. I'm just curious.
And that's kind of where NetherRealm Studios falls flat on its face.
Right.
You're going to... Okay, you get me fired up again. But all I'll say is they're putting, as compared to Capcom Cup, they're putting peanuts in the prize pool.
Okay.
And expecting these players to travel, airfare, hotel, food. Like, there's no incentive to travel. For me, screw it. I'm going to put all my hours in the Street Fighter because Capcom Cup. I might not win Capcom Cup, but what, $1 million to first, $250 to second, other prize pools that look great for local grassroots tournaments. Why not? It's just piss poor by NetherRealm. Piss poor.
Okay. You like that phrase a lot, don't you? Piss poor.
It's my favorite word to use, especially when I feel like, man, I'm really just reaching right underneath your rib cage and yanking your heart out when I say that.
Yeah, I think that that's exactly what it does. Let's move on. We're going to move on to Dragon's Dogma 2, a game that we've talked about, the both of us, several times off the podcast. But I want to open it up to the public. This game has been anticipated since its announcement, but Dragon's Dogma 2 has recently just come out with so many gameplay, either videos or there have been exclusive sort of closed off media type, exhibitions where people got their hands on the game for longer extended periods of time that the public is not exposed to. But there's been a lot of gameplay on Dragon's Dogma 2 now, and there's been a lot of hype building for this game. And it is coming out relatively soon. Dragon's Dogma 2 is not, very far away at this point. It is projected to come out on March, and I say projected because of all the delays that have been coming out the past several years. Delays. But the anticipated release date for this game is March 22nd. It's about a month away by the time you're hearing this. So a month and a half-ish. So, they've been building and building and building and building and building the hype for this game. Dragon's Dogma is a game that the original one wasn't received in the highest regard when it was initially released, but it got this cult following and people started to appreciate it when Dark Arisen came out, which was sort of a remaster / retweak of the game. And I played it. I never beat it, but I did play it enough to know that it is a game that doesn't have the most exciting AAA over the top, hit you in the head sort of aesthetics going on, but it does have a character to it, and that is more important than anything. It's kind of got that Souls, Elden Ring, Dark Souls, Demon Souls type exploration, interesting level of intrigue where you just want to keep playing a little bit more because you want to see what's on the other side of the hill. You want to see what happens if you can defeat that griffin. And if you like Monster Hunter, Capcom, who also makes Monster Hunter, has made this game sort of kind of blend in between a Monster Hunter / third-person Skyrim type game. So if any of this sounds appealing to you and you don't know anything about Dragon's Dogma, I think that you're going to be in for a very nice treat when Dragon's Dogma 2 releases, hopefully on March... Where'd we go? 22nd. March 22nd. Sorry about that. When it releases on March 22nd, 2024. I'm going to turn it over to Adonis. I know he's seen gameplay. I know he wants to talk about this. So we're going to turn it over to him now. And talk to me about Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah, I haven't played the first iteration of the game that you mentioned, but from watching gameplay, it's kind of what you said. Like, there is a Souls-like Elden Ring, Skyrim feel to what the gameplay is showing me. And there aren't too many people who weren't fans of the titles I just mentioned. So with that being said, a game like this should do well, and I don't think it will. I don't think it'll do bad. I think it'll. They'll sell a lot of copies of the game, probably me included. I'll buy it. It looks great, and I think it'll perform well. Visually, it looks great. I think it's really important what you said. One of the ideas that you just mentioned is that it's appreciated, and it's very hard to almost bring a game to life. Like you said, adding character to a game. Like, yeah, you can have an idea, you can storyboard it, you can hire the team, you can work hard, and you can take care of your assignments. But to have the level of time put into a game where it begins to almost come to life, in a sense, it's really hard to do. So Dragon's Dogma 2, I think, is going to do that. And from the gameplay, from what I'm watching, graphics, gameplay, the open world sense of the game, I think it's gonna do great in terms of reviews from IGN, Game Critic, and all those other game media outlets.
Is this a game that you're going to pick up and play? Do you
I want to.
Okay.
I want to. Yeah, I want to for sure.
What I like about it is the, like I already mentioned this, but I want to dive a little deeper. The exploration, which that's what kind of kept me going with the first Dragon's Dogma. It came to PlayStation Plus, and I picked it up for free, and I just downloaded it just to try it because the second game just kind of got announced, and this is the Dark Arisen iteration, by the way, which is, like I said, kind of a retool remaster type thing. I figured I was going to play it for 30 minutes, and I ended up playing it for about 8 hours.
Ooh.
Not in one session, but I really thought I was going to beat the game, and then a bunch of new games came out. So I didn't.
You had to put it in the backlog.
But it had this charm to it. This, what's around this corner? Where's this next city going to take me? What's this next quest going to do type of thing? This sort of feeling of, I've never been into the Monster Hunter games, and I don't know if you have.
What?
Yeah.
I love Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I've never been into them. And I don't know if I just couldn't get rolling with it because there's so much, intricacies in the different systems and combat and exploration, and there's a lot going on in the Monster Hunter games if you've never played them. But I think it was just a lot at the time, the 2 or 3 times I tried to pick it up. But having said all that, for some reason, in this setting, in the Dragon's Dogma setting, it worked for me. You were fighting griffins, you were fighting big ogres that you were climbing on their backs, and it had the Shadow of Colossus, if you've played that, feel to it as well, where you have to climb on the back of the ogre and try and stab it in the eye while it's trying to fling you off of it. It's really cool, it's really charming, and it's really fun. And I keep using the same phrase, but the game has character. It just does. It has this just level of charm to it. Again, I'm repeating myself, but I just want to make sure that I'm abundantly clear here. It has a level of charm to it that you can't really feel for yourself until you play it. You can watch as many videos as you want of Dragon's Dogma, but until you get your hands on it and play and move around in the world, you don't really know what you're missing out on. And that's sort of how I feel about the Souls games, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, any of those games. You can watch a ton of gameplay on it, and that's fine. And you can appreciate, these are good games, right? They're objectively speaking good games. But until you actually feel, until you actually experience, which is what video games are made for, And not to go off on a whole tangent, but yeah, I like watching video games too, but you know, it's a medium that's made to be played firsthand, controller or mouse and keyboard and the screen. You're supposed to interact. And that's what the developers designed it for. So until you do that, you can't really judge a game fairly, in my opinion. But charm. That is what Dragon's Dogma 2 has that will separate it from other RPGs that come out this calendar year. But I don't know. I don't know if you want to say anything on any of the statements I just made, but I'm ready to move on. I'm excited for this game. I think the combat looks great. Third-person action adventure. If you don't know what Dragon's Dogma is, if you don't know what any of the Souls games are, this is a third-person.
You've been living under a rock.
Exactly. I didn't want to use that saying again. I've been saying that a lot, but yes, it's a third-person action adventure RPG. It comes out on March 22nd, hopefully, and it's going to be no less than great. I think 8.0s minimum for Dragon's Dogma 2. It looks really good. And anything else on this, Adonis?
No, I agree. I think the scores will be high-ish. And I think the community's ready to get their hands on it and just immerse themselves in the game, but I think it'll perform well. I agree.
Nice. So the next topic, and we can brush over this pretty quickly because I haven't really played it a ton. The game just came out, I want to say 3 days ago at the time of our recording. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. The infinity symbol is supposed to be a sideways 8. This is Yakuza 8, if you will. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth is the second game that is a turn-based style Yakuza game. There have been so many of these Yakuza games that have been coming out in the past, and more recently, they've kind of just been flowing. Mm-hmm. You had the Kiryu sort of spin-off, The Man Who Erased His Name. You had Ishin, which was kind of the same actors, quote-unquote, but it was an anthology set in the very far past where, you know, you had swords, and I think you might have had guns. I never played it, truth be told. But yeah, they've been cranking these games out. It's the same studio. But this, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, is the 8th entry in the series. This is the big. Oh, you got the Lost Judgment games too. Judgment, Lost Judgment, etc., etc. I think there's 2 and then a remaster for those games. But anyway, this is the 8th entry. Infinite Wealth, I believe, the infinity sign, if you turn it 45 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise, it's an 8. So this is supposed to be Yakuza 8. It is like I said, the second one that is turn-based. It is the second one whose main protagonist is Ichiban Kasuga. The first 6 games are Kiryu, and he's in this game as well. He's a character in this game as well. I'm only about maybe 2 hours in, but I played Like a Dragon, the original Like a Dragon, Yakuza 7, if you will. Played the whole game, was absolutely obsessed with it, and did not realize I was going to be obsessed with it going in. It was another
Those
situation.
Those are the best kinds of games. Those are the best kinds of games.
They really are, because I had no expectations going in whatsoever. I knew it was a good game. I knew that it had a following, and I knew that people were high on it, but I didn't know I was going to like it, right? And so when I found out I really, really, really liked this game, Infinite Wealth became the game that just released, became such a must-buy for me. It became a day one, like, can't believe I got to drop $70 when this game comes out, but I have to do it because I am so excited for this game. And it picks up right where the last game left off. And, you know, I'm still very early on, but I just want to leave you with some impressions. Number one, if you played any of these Yakuza games and you have any remote interest in turn-based, or even if you don't have interest in turn-based, but if you like the Yakuza games, you're gonna really like this game. It's very, very good. It's very, very good. I can tell it's going to be very, very good, and I'm probably going to play it extremely fast and beat it pretty quickly, which is rare for me. Normally I take my time with games, but this game is one of those exceptions. Number 2, if you played the game that came out before this, Like a Dragon, the first Like a Dragon game, and you liked it at all, just go ahead and buy this new one, Infinite Wealth. Just buy it, because you'll love it. It picks up right where the last game left off. It is a bunch of the same characters, some new characters, and it's got this charm to it where it sounds like something I wouldn't really like. I'm not sure if talking to you, Adonis, if you would really like it. If I just said it to you, it's kind of like a soap opera-y story. Where if you told me that, oh, this game the story plays out like a soap opera, I'd be like, okay, all right, what other games are coming out? I would have no interest in it. But this, for some reason, the way that it delivers its story, it's self-aware. It knows that it's like that. It knows that it's soap opera-y, and it leans right into it, and it's got such charm to it that you can't help but smile when you play this game. It's so funny. It's so addictive, where you think you're going to play for 20 minutes and you just play for 4 hours straight.
Those are the best. Damn.
Right. And it's relaxing. It's high stakes and low stakes at the same time. And what I mean by that is you can do things that are very integral to the story and have this level of weight to it. Or you can, go on these side quests that are just funny and fun and relaxing and just to kind of blow off some steam. But either way, whichever side of the spectrum you end up being on in that particular session, you're going to have fun playing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and you're going to enjoy your time and be happy that you downloaded this game and put it on your console. It is on PS5 and PS4, so it is still on current gen. But
it's compatible too.
Yeah, I'd obviously recommend playing it on, next gen. But if you can't, you can only live within your means. If you can't do it, you can't do it. But pick this game up. If you like this series, pick it up. If you played the last game, you should already have it. You shouldn't even be listening to the podcast. You should already have this game, and you should already be farther than I am in it. But yeah, it doesn't stray too far from its comfort zone so far, at least. It keeps doing its thing, and it knows what it does well, and it just excels at it. Adonis, is this a game that you have on your radar? Is this a game that you're interested in at all, or is this something that you might pass on?
Well, when we had a conversation about it earlier in the week, I wasn't too sold. I had known about the Yakuza games. I had known about them, but I had never played any. I played Yakuza 0. And then you told me about this game, and I said, let me see what he's talking about. And I pulled up the trailer for the game. And literally, within the first 30 seconds of watching the gameplay trailer, there's just like a breath of fresh air from watching it. I mean, the guy has on this Hawaiian vacation shirt. You can almost feel the wind in the game, running through your hair. It has this Final Fantasy kind of vibe to it, with the other characters you can bring with you into fights and other interactions. It's definitely a game that's on my radar. It's definitely a game I would like to play. I can't say anything bad about the trailer. The immersive nature of the game, how open world it looks, I'm sold. It did its job.
Yeah, see, I'm not even in Hawaii yet. I'm in wherever the last game takes place. I want to say it's in Japan, but I think it's an island. But I don't in
Japan?
I don't want to. Well, Japan is an island, but it's like it's like another. Yeah, it's like a. I don't want to misquote it, so I'm just not even going to attempt. But I'm still there. Mm-hmm. I'm not even at Hawaii yet, but I do know that the game takes place in Hawaii as well. But you said something that I want to sort of reiterate, it is a breath of fresh air. That is a great, like the absolute most perfect description for this game possible. It is so different from anything you're going to play. And man, sometimes you need that. Sometimes you don't need the same shooter, the same action adventure game, the same Souls-like, the same Metroidvania. Sometimes you need a turn-based RPG where the main character imagines all the enemies to be grander than they actually are, in the style of Dragon Quest. And it is a comedy RPG style game. It is so funny too. I can't reiterate that enough. This game is it's funny. Like and say what you will about South Park. You know, I know it's not for everyone, and I know it's controversial for some people.
Oh, very.
Yeah, but if you've touched either of those South Park games, that's probably the closest thing I could compare Yakuza Like a Dragon and Infinite Wealth to, because it's a turn-based comedy style action adventure game where it kind of pokes fun at itself, right? That's sort of what you're getting with Yakuza Like a Dragon. It's not as offensive as South Park. It's not as self-referential as South Park, where you're going to have all these inside jokes that you don't know if you don't know the South Park series. I never played a Yakuza game. Yakuza Like a Dragon was the first one I played, and I felt right at home. I felt like I could follow along very easily with the story, so it's not like that. But if you do like that game, either of the South Park games, you'll probably like this as well. Just you know, as an aside. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say about Infinite Wealth for now. I'm sure I'll have just like Adonis is going to have an official review of Tekken 8, I'll probably have an official review of this, you know, in the coming weeks. But I'm taking my time with it. I know I just said I was kind of rushing through it, but I want to take my time with it. I'm probably gonna end up rushing through it because of how good it is so far. But you know, when I'm done, I'll put a review out.
There you go.
Yeah, but I'm not rushing. I'm enjoying it, but I'll probably enjoy it quickly. I'll probably savor it quickly. That's what I'm getting at the end of the day. And that's it for Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. If you have anything else to say about it, go for it. If not, we can move on to our send-off topic, which is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Anything else about Yakuza before we go?
Nah, the gameplay trailer looked great. Looking forward to getting my hands on it, and can't wait to play it.
All right, so here we go. Without further ado, the final segment of today's episode, the Adonis was absolutely wrong segment of the podcast. This is my review of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
Good Lord.
It's awesome. That's all you need to know.
Yeah,
dude, it is so good. This game is so good. This is one of the best Metroidvanias I have ever played. It's addictive. It's got that very charming, sprawling map quality to it, where you've got different sort of biomes, for a lack of a better word, that you're going to go to. You're going to go to different sort of landscapes and places. You're going to fight a variety of different enemies, and you're going to uncover the map one section at a time. But it's also got this AAA sort of gloss over it, where it's not, like I said last time we spoke, it's a $50 game. It's $49.99. So it's not quite a $70 game. But Ubisoft knew, hey, this is more than a $24.99 game. This is more than a $39.99 game. We've got production value here, and we've got a substantial enough game to charge a little bit more than the average 2D scrolling platformer. And so that's what they did. I think they nailed it, honestly, with the price point of $49.99. It might be too steep for some people. If that's the case, I would say wait for it to go on sale. 50 might rub you the wrong way for this style of game. I get it.
Yeah, it's a little much, but
I totally get it. I totally get it. But when you actually get your hands on the game and you actually play it, you're going to realize why they settled on that price point. I think they charged the exactly right amount for this game. It is very, very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Methodical in the way that it unveils the map to you, the way that it trickles down these new sort of mechanics to you, which is what a Metroidvania is supposed to do, no doubt. It's supposed to, introduce you to a new mechanic that makes you unlock that side of the map that you couldn't get to before, that you've passed 15 times. And it's just that overwhelming sense of, finally, I get to see what's on the other side of this door. And I haven't been able to go there yet for the last 6 hours that I've put into this game. It's got that quality to it. And I do understand that that's part of the genre. But the way that it does it is very, like I said, methodical and well thought out and perfectly paced. This game has very, very good pacing to it. The story never drags on for too long, but it's interesting enough to where you want to see what happens next. It's got, basically, without spoiling anything, the area that you explore in the game, the setting of the game, is sort of locked behind some time stasis where time is moving differently for everybody that's in the area that you're in. So some people experience one day as a month and some people experience a month as one day. It just, time moves differently for everybody. It's sort of, time is breaking. And they play with that in the mechanics of the level design and in the mechanics of the combat as well. So it's very cool the way that the game does that. But the polish level of this game is something that really impresses me. There's no discernible microtransactions because, you've seen it in the past with Ubisoft, and I was worried about that myself. There's no discernible, make sure that you get the deluxe edition of the game because this will happen and that will happen. It's not advertising you to spend more money on the game. It just wants you to play. There's a little bit of that, here and there with the Ubisoft Connect, but Ubisoft does that with all their games. I'm sure that that's some contractual obligation that they have, but it's just a good game. It's just a good time, and it does what it does very, very well, and it does it in a way that I was surprised by how much I liked this game. I knew I was going to like it.
I am too.
Yeah, I knew I was going to like it. I'll let you talk in a second, but I just want to say my piece. I knew I was going to like it. I knew it was going to be fun. I knew I was going to enjoy it, but I kind of saw it as a guilty pleasure type of a game. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of like, I'm picking this up. I'm going to play it. I know I'm going to like it, and then I'm going to be done with it. I didn't think I was going to like it this much. I did not think I was going to like it this much. This game's awesome. It is this and Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. I'm shocked at how good this year has been already, and we're only in January. Because last year was just so stellar, and we already got 2 amazing games in January. But I know you're ready to talk.
I don't.
Tell me.
I won't have much to say.
Okay, go. But you got something to say, so say it.
Of course I do. I mean, I've heard everything you have to say, and I still am going to stand true on what I said. The game is basura. The game is trash. It looks trash. Sorry, you can't get me, buddy. It won't happen. I like everything you said, and it all sounded good, but I'm not moving. It is basura. Yes, it is exactly what it is. I watched the gameplay. I don't need to play the game. I saw what I needed to see. It's 2D. It reminds me of some trash that I played back when I was a child. Now, I love the Prince of Persia game. The Sands of Time, I played it. What you mentioned as far as time being affected in a certain area of the map, the idea of time being manipulated is like one of the major premises of the game, which is amazing. I love Prince of Persia. Loved it. It ain't going to change my mind. Not going to get me 50? 50? Nah, I can go pay a lady tonight. Not paying. Nope. I'm not going to do it. I for those who enjoy it, I respect your contribution. I respect your opinion, because this is a space that I respect opinions, but I'm not gonna change mine. You're not getting 50 from me. Might as well leave it in my wallet. Won't happen. Other games that are probably, I get Palworld twice before I get that.
Oh my God. So you're insulted by what the asking price to get in on this game. That's your main gripe with it.
Yeah, for what I watched.
If it was $30, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Is that what you're telling me?
Instacop.
Okay.
But that $20, do you know what you can get for 20? And I ain't talking about food.
Yeah. I do. But
you hear me?
We'll talk about that on a different podcast on a different day. But listen, this is a family-friendly show.
I ain't say nothing. I ain't say nothing.
This is a family-friendly show, and this game, it's good, man. Come on, you have like a vendetta against. You have like this. What's the word? This sort of. I don't know what the word I'm trying to say is, but basically, you have a. This narrative around this game that you just want to stick to so bad, and it is so good. And we are at some point in the podcast, at some point this year, I will say, we will have some sort of a bet of something. And if you lose the bet, the payoff is going to be you're going to have to play Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown all the way through.
Well, now that I know that that'll be a stipulation of the bet, I'm never going to bet you on anything that's not for sure. 100%. We're not going to risk it. Like, if I know that we're ever going to make a wager and you're going to make me play that sorry ass game, or you're going to make me play that freaking ant game that's supposed to be coming out, I'm not going to do it.
Oh man, the ant game. I forgot about the ant game.
Those two games are in the same category for me, man. Listen, I don't pass judgment on games. Okay? I try it first, then I give you an opinion. These, they don't even get there. Trash.
Oh my God. That is so funny. Listen.
I won't do it.
This is an anecdote that I have, and then I'm just going to leave our listeners with this, because don't listen to Adonis, because he's wrong.
Okay.
And how dare you comment on this game that you haven't even touched with your own two fingers? Nope. You haven't played the game at all. This game, it's if you like a Metroidvania, just stop listening to the podcast and go play it. If you don't like Metroidvanias, you're still gonna like this game. If you like action adventure games. Wow. But here's the anecdote I just want to make, and we'll leave it at that, and then we'll take off for the night, because you done pissed me off with all this slander.
Not that you done pissed me.
You did. But listen, Kelly, my girlfriend, she is as casual as gamers come. She's a very casual gamer. She didn't start playing video games till Spyro the Dragon in COVID. That's when she started playing video games. I finally got her to crack during COVID. We had too much time on our hands, quarantine.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I worked her way up from Spyro the Dragon to Crash Bandicoot to Diablo.
Very good games, by the way. Very good games to get her to try. Very good games.
Right? I had a whole strategy. I had a whole strategy, man. And this was a whole thing that I planned out in my head. I was like, how can I turn her into a gamer? Is that manipulative? I don't think it's manipulative.
You did a great job.
Okay.
You did a great job.
It sounds kind of weird saying it that way. I don't mean, she enjoys video games. I knew that she would if I got her to try it in the right way. If I got her to open her eyes. Anyway, long story short, she is absolutely addicted to this game, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. It has that appeal to it, where it is going to appeal to the hardcore Metroidvania fans, and it's going to appeal to the casual gamers as well. She is more addicted, I would say, than I am to this game.
Wow.
Yeah, she likes it a lot. And let's get off the whole this game's basura slander for a second, and let's talk about gameplay. Like I said, the combat's great. The exploration is second to none. The way that they do the exploration, I just find very, very, very streamlined. They have this. I don't know if you played a lot of Metroidvanias, but there's one thing that sort of all Metroidvanias for more or less have in common. And it's this idea of you have to return to this place because you don't have the mechanic unlocked yet to unlock this part of the map, right? And it's something that you kind of just have to remember, or that area of the map is grayed out, and you got to think, 6 hours have gone by, and you're like, oh yeah, now I got the double jump, now I can go to that part of the map. But where the hell was that part of the map? I can't remember for the life of me. So what they did is they added this mechanic on the map where you press down on the D-pad and you get a limited number of screenshots that save on the mini-map. Oh. Not the mini-map. When you pull the map up, when you hit the touchpad and pull the map up, they save for the whole game until you delete it. But you get a limited number of them, so you got to like sort of choose it wisely. But you can take a picture, a snapshot of, okay, this is something that I'm gonna come back to, and all you got to do is hit down on the D-pad, and it saves it for you. And I thought at first, I was like, this is like too much of a shortcut, right? It's too much of a handicap for people that like these exploration type games. But the more I realized it, the more I thought, hey, I kind of do that anyway. I would have just wrote it down on a piece of pen and, on a pen and paper, a piece of paper somewhere. And I'm going to do that one way or another. I'm going to try and remember the spot that I have to come back to. This is just a way to streamline it and make it better. And, apologies if another game has done this before, but as far as I can tell, this Prince of Persia game,
first game to do it.
Yeah, I don't remember another game that has done that sort of. I think they call it like a memory shard or something like that. I don't know.
That's pretty cool.
I'd never seen this mechanic before. I've played a lot of Metroidvanias. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up and emphasize it so much is not because it's that big of a deal. It's not. But it's the perfect example of the love and care that the developers put into this Prince of Persia game. Because let's talk about it. It is a bold move to make a side-scrolling Metroidvania and charge $50 for it. We certainly know Adonis is worked up about it. But people just want to play a 3D action-adventure Prince of Persia game. People love that. I know that you're one of them, Adonis. They said, no, we're not doing that. We have this vision, and we're going to complete this vision of this 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania, whether you like it or not. And the game will speak for itself. And sure enough, they did it. And that is why I think I'm so impressed with this game, because they went completely against the grain with it. They did not have to do anything remotely close to this. They could have made a more typical Prince of Persia style game and just pulled on the nostalgia heartstrings of everybody that played the last iteration, and they would have ate it up and they would have played it, and that would have been that. But they had a vision and they stuck to it, and the result was phenomenal. This game is phenomenal. I'm nearly done with it, but I'm not quite finished with it as far as the story mode. But I've played it for 20 plus hours. I've played it enough to know that it is 1A and 1B for my game of the year right now. Yeah, it's early, it's January, but this and...
See, now you done gone too far.
There's only been 2 games that I've played this year. It's this and Yakuza and Infinite Wealth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Those are only 2 games, but those are 1A and 1B as far as I'm concerned. They're both phenomenal games, and I would highly recommend either one of them. So I said my piece. If you want to bash this game before you even get your hands on it, I think that's completely slanderous and wrong.
I'm doing it.
If you played the game, if you played the demo even, I'd have a little bit more respect for you. But to just blatantly come after this game for no reason, just as part of a shtick.
Guns a-blazing.
You lost some respect from me. That's all I'm going to say.
John Wick. I'm all in. I'm in it. All of it.
Any closing 100%. Comments, Adonis? I can't wait to make that bet with you, so you have to play this game, and you're gonna love it too. I can't wait for you to say, "Oh, I loved it."
I'm never gonna lose, man. I'm gonna be like Patty Mahomes when making bets, baby.
Oh no, don't lose. No, too soon.
Way too soon. I don't know. I always enjoy doing the podcast. I enjoy the listeners tuning in. If it's 15 of you or 15,000, thanks for tuning in. It's always fun laughing, debating, and covering games. And I look forward to the podcast, and I look forward to the games that are going to release this year. I know we looked at the list. I know we had our anticipations and what we're looking forward to, but I think this game or this year holds like a lot of good games in store for us.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to live up to 2023 because that year was stellar for video games.
It was.
But we're off to a good start. And, until next week, that's basically it. We had nothing but games for you today. So that's also some of my favorite episodes when it's just all games.
I mean, give it a few days. Something else is going to leak.
Oh, yeah. Some crazy news will drop right after
happens.
When I hit stop right here, I'm going to get a crazy notification.
That's how it always happens.
All right, guys. Until next